Alright, so before I start, I have to change the weather to clear, which is important for the beginning of this category. I'm gonna pick Knuckles, and I'm going to start in Reactor Factory in 3, 2, 1, go. So, Sonic R has 5 tracks to beat the game. You obviously have to beat each of the tracks. In order to get 100%, in addition to winning the races, you have to get a bunch of collectibles, which include 5 Sonic tokens and 1 to 2 Chaos Emeralds per track. A lot of them are locked behind so-called ring gates that require you to have a specific amount of rings to unlock them. So what you do is you have to root in a lot of ring and item collecting into your race while also winning the race. So currently the plan is I'm going to try to get to 100 rings so I can collect the first 2 emeralds. The first one is gonna come shot out of here, out of this cannon in front of me, falling from the sky. The second one, once I go through this gate, comes out of the submarine and I can pick it up. And that leaves me only with a couple of tokens left to collect. So here's one. Here's one. And for the final one, I actually have to turn around here, go back up this ramp, and collect this token. So now I've collected everything, but I have 2 laps left. So instead of playing the laps, what I'm gonna do is go in this corner, wiggle back and forth, and clip out of bounds. And now I have to set myself up next to the finish line, and I can do tiny circles and just repeatedly trigger a lap like that. So basically what's going on, I get out of bounds and I set myself up next to the finish line. The finish line reaches a bit out of bounds, so I can activate it from outside the track. And I can cross it, turn around, back past it, and cross it again. And that counts as a lap, because this game is not very good at checking if you actually play a lap. So I'm gonna do this again. If you win a race with all 5 Sonic tokens collected, you get sent into the challenge race, which is what I'm in right now, where you play the same track again against one unlockable character. On that challenge race, you don't have to collect anything anymore. Yo, Crossfade, how's it going? Thank you very much. On the challenge race, you don't have to collect anything anymore, so you just beat the race as quickly as possible. So what I did was immediately turn around at the start and go to my clip out spot and do the same thing I did again. So because I just won the challenge race against Metal Knuckles, I unlocked Metal Knuckles, so I switched to Metal Knuckles now because he's very useful for the next 2 tracks. So that's also the reason we do Reactor Factory first, because that track gives you Metal Knuckles. Metal Knuckles is great for this category in particular because Metal Knuckles is also capable of doing the corner clips that you just saw me do, the same as Knuckles, which not every character can do. But Metal Knuckles can also jump on water just like this without losing any speed, which is very useful. If you've ever seen a run of this category, of this game, most likely you've seen a no out of bounds category. In no out of bounds, you make use of the weather function in the game options to change the weather to snow, which makes all the water freeze and you can run over it, as well as have less traction and get more drift speed. We'll get to that later. But in this category you can't use that, at least not right now, because it makes the clips that I'm currently using basically impossible. So in this category we have to deal with the water, and the best way to do that is with Metal Knuckles. So we just did the same thing again, basically we did in Reactor Factory. The fun thing about these clips is they can take pretty much however long they want. So this was pretty good luck so far. But if you get unlucky, you can also, a previous run of mine, it literally took me 2 minutes on one of the clips to clip out, so it just depends how the game feels. It's very inconsistent, that's why you really need to grind out a lot of attempts if you want a good time in this category. I think you can sort of increase your chances with going for certain angles or having a specific timing how you turn, but it's not really understood how the clips work, so as far as we know, it's all luck, basically. But yeah, we're coming up to the next track. This pretty much goes the exact same as the previous one, so I'm gonna explain a little bit how the movement works in this game. So basically, you drift a lot, and drifting speeds you up. Basically, if you get momentum going and into a drift, if you go sideways, you get extra speed. So you obviously want to try to drift a lot to maximize the extra speed. There's also a technique called counter drifting. So basically, so drifting works with the left and right trigger. You have, you have one trigger for each direction of drift. So usually if you go to the right, you press the right trigger to get a sharp right drift, and the other way around for left. But if you get into a drift and set up a diagonal angle and a little bit of momentum, and then switch the drift trigger that you're pressing, you can actually keep a lot of momentum from the drift onto straights and get a lot of extra speed out of drift turns. And that's called counter drifting, and we use that a lot. So basically, when you see me go around basically on empty spaces or along walls, and the character's kind of like leaning off to a different direction than what he's facing, that's basically what a counter drift is. So it's all basically just pressing the opposite drift button, but it's difficult to use well, because if you're used to just playing normally with drifting, it really goes against your muscle memory to start doing counter drifts. But it's very useful. It speeds you up a lot. That was a very fast clip. Wow, I'm very lucky this run. But yeah, that's all about what's going on. And if this was a marathon right now, I would say that now is a good moment. Actually, no, this is not a good moment for donations, because after this race, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the game settings, the aforementioned game settings, and change the weather to snowy, so I can make use of the ice physics to get extra drift speed, which speeds up the next race. This game is timed in-game time. So the menuing doesn't penalize you, but even if this time was timed in real time, you save enough time with the ice physics in this race to make up the time lost from menuing. So even for RTA, this saves time to change the weather. I changed to Metal Sonic here. The reason for that comes up later, but for now, if this was a marathon run, I would ask for donations now, because I'm just going around the track here. That run is actually going really well so far, and I think I'm doing the commentary pretty well. I'm pretty happy with how this is going. I bet this is not gonna go like this at all when I actually gotta do it tomorrow, but that's fine. Anyways, on this track, the emeralds are hidden inside these kind of weird pyramids that usually open up when you go through the gates in front of them, but they lose all collision the moment you go through the gate, so you don't actually have to wait for them to open, and you can just pick up the emerald without waiting for the pyramid. So you basically just run straight through, and especially on the first one, you don't even really see the emerald as you pick it up, because it's covered with pyramid. But anyways, this is, I forgot to split. This is the challenge race Egg Robo. So Metal Sonic actually can't do the corner clips that I did previously, but there's a different method of clipping out of bounds here that I can use. So basically I got to turn around, and what I'm going to try to do is jump through this bank turn right here, and of course I screwed it up. So this is probably going to take me another 15 attempts to get it now, because you either get this trick first try or 10th try, except for the times where you get it second try, which usually doesn't happen. But of course, now that I mention it, it does, which is cool, because that's better than 10th try. But anyways, this part right here is the reason I switched to Metal Sonic for this race, because Metal Sonic has a better turn radius, than Metal Knuckles, so he saves a couple seconds doing this out-of-bounds part. The reason we don't use Metal Sonic before is because he can't do the corner clip, so we have to rely on Metal Knuckles. Anyways, now all the regular tracks are done, everything is collected, we got all the Chaos Emeralds, and now we can select Supersonic, which we're going to use for the final race. On the final race, there's unfortunately not a reliable way to skip anything, but there's something I'm going to try to do that is very inconsistent, but might work eventually. Let's see. Well, nothing on the first lap. So basically, in this game, collision is very funny. So basically, anytime you collide with or slide along a wall at high speed, there's a slim chance that the collision just stops working and you just clip through and go outside the track. If that happens on this track, on that wall to the left at the start, you can actually skip most of one lap. You can't stay out of bounds and trigger several laps in a row like on the other tracks, but you do skip around. If you get the good strat with it, with an extra jump, you can save like 16-17 seconds. If you fall down, you save like 13 seconds still, so in any case it's a pretty big time save if you can get that in a run, but it's very inconsistent. Yeah, the IL record has all 3 clips in it, but it takes very, very, very long to grind out. Other than that, this track is mostly just movement and ring collecting. You really need a lot of rings on this track, for 1 to open the shortcuts, and for 2 to get a full zip on these speed pads right here. So there's these speed pads here, they also exist on other tracks, but I don't use them there because you're usually busy using the rings for something else. That basically send you a distance depending on your ring count. You want to have 50 rings, which is the max, so it sends you the max amount of distance. Anything else is time loss, but anyways, we're coming up on time. And that's time. And that is not only the best run I did of the stream, that is also the only sub 12 I did the stream, and it's also the run where I actually did commentary and explained everything. So that's interesting. Like on the other runs I actually had... I could just be quiet and just focus on what I'm doing. And I played way worse, and this time I actually explained everything and I got a much better time. That's nice.